Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. After Emma walked away from the restaurant, her heart raced as she hurried down the street, her face still flushed with embarrassment. She couldn't stop replaying the awkward moment in her head. How could I have been so careless, she thought. She had never felt more out of place in her life. But there was something else there too, a strange feeling of regret. I wish I could have stayed. He wasn't what I expected. She wasn't sure why, but a part of her felt like she had missed something important. But now, she had to focus. Her phone buzzed again. Another reminder of her reality. The screen displayed a text from Jenny. So? How did it go? Tell me everything. Emma quickly typed back a response, trying to shake off the unease. It was a mess, Jenny. I'm so embarrassed. I thought he was someone else. Jenny's response came almost immediately. Oh no. You're okay. But I have to know, was he cute? Is he worth going back for? Emma couldn't help but smile at her friend's persistence, but all she could think about was the moment she had walked away from Liam. She stuffed her phone into her bag and tried to shake off the feeling. She had more important things to focus on right now, like her shift at the diner. The cold air bit at her skin as she made her way to the subway station, the busy streets of New York blurring around her. As she boarded the train, she leaned against the window, her thoughts drifting again. It was just a mistake. A simple mistake. She had been so nervous, so distracted by the whole situation that she had missed all the signs. Why didn't he correct me sooner? She wondered. What kind of man let someone sit at the wrong table without saying a word? But then she remembered how kind he had seemed. How he had smiled at her, and how easy it had been to talk to him, despite everything. Maybe it wasn't such a big deal. She was just overthinking things. The train screeched to a halt at her stop, and she pushed herself off the pole, heading out into the cold once more. The night was quiet, and the city felt like a completely different world as she made her way to the diner. It was always the same, a familiar routine that gave her some sense of stability. But tonight, the weight of the earlier encounter still hung heavy on her mind. As she walked into the diner, the familiar clatter of dishes and hum of conversation greeted her. It felt like nothing had changed, but she knew it had. She tried to shake off the thoughts of Liam, but they lingered. She couldn't help herself. She had never met someone like him before. He was so different from the men she usually met. So polished, so confident. And yet, there was something about him that seemed almost vulnerable. She shook her head, focusing back on her work. Hey, Emma! You're late, her manager called from the counter. Emma smiled and shrugged, brushing off her earlier thoughts. Sorry, traffic was a mess. She grabbed her apron and tied it around her waist, moving toward the tables. The night passed slowly. The usual customers came and went, their faces blurring together. But the encounter with Liam was never far from her mind. As she cleaned off the last table of the night, the bell above the door jingled, signaling the arrival of a new customer. Emma turned around, ready to greet them, but stopped in her tracks when she saw who had walked in. It was him. Liam. Her heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, she wasn't sure if she was imagining it. She blinked, but he was still standing there, looking around the diner. As if searching for something, She froze for a moment, unsure of what to do. He caught her eye and gave her a small, hesitant smile. What is he doing here? She thought. She felt a strange mix of anxiety and curiosity wash over her. Liam walked toward the counter, and Emma found herself moving toward him, her legs feeling heavier with each step. "Hi, Emma," he said softly when she reached him. "I didn't expect to see you here." She managed a small smile, though her nerves were getting the best of her. "What are you doing here?" she asked, trying to sound casual. He smiled again, but there was a faint sadness in his eyes. "I had some business nearby and thought I'd grab a bite." "It seems like I'm following you, ho." He laughed lightly, though the tension between them was undeniable. I didn't expect to see you after earlier." Emma felt her face turn red again, the memory of running out of the restaurant still fresh in her mind. "I'm sorry about that," she added quickly. "It was just a mistake." "I really didn't mean to." "It's okay," he interrupted, holding up a hand. "It's not your fault. I was going to tell you, but I didn't know how." Emma raised an eyebrow, confused. "Tell me what?" Liam shifted uncomfortably, his gaze dropping to the menu in front of him. "I should have been honest with you earlier." "I wasn't exactly." "Kevin. My name is Liam Parker. I'm the CEO of a tech company. I was just testing something. And I didn't expect you to walk out." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She blinked, processing his words. The man she had sat next to at the restaurant wasn't just any guy, he was a CEO. A billionaire. "Wait," she said, almost too stunned to speak. You're the CEO of Parker Technologies." He nodded. "Yeah. I didn't mean to confuse you. I just wanted to see if you'd be different from the people I usually meet. And I guess I didn't expect this." His voice was softer now, almost apologetic. "I didn't expect to feel anything." Emma stood there, stunned. She didn't know what to say. She had just met a man who, in her eyes, was everything she had never imagined she would meet, and now, he was standing here, admitting that he had been testing her. But why? What did he want from her? And more importantly, what did this mean for her now? Emma stood there, completely stunned, as the weight of Liam's words sank in. Her heart raced and her mind scrambled to catch up. The man who had sat across from her, the man she had mistaken for Kevin, was not just anyone. He was Liam Parker, the CEO of Parker Technologies, one of the most successful tech companies in the country. She had been talking to a billionaire, someone who was worlds apart from the kind of men she was used to meeting, and yet he hadn't corrected her. He hadn't even revealed his true identity until now. "I'm sorry," Liam said, breaking the silence. "I didn't mean to mislead you. I just wanted to see if you'd treat me like everyone else or if you'd treat me like a person. I know it was a test, but I didn't expect to feel anything." Emma was still processing his words, trying to understand why he had done this. It felt like a punch to the stomach. All this time, she had thought of him as just another guy, someone who was shy or reserved, but now she realized the truth. He wasn't like the other men she had met. He was powerful, influential, and yet, he had been willing to put on a mask, to pretend to be someone else just to see how she would react. Her mind kept racing with questions. Why me? Why test me? What does he want from me? She had so many questions, but she couldn't bring herself to ask them. All she could think about was the awkwardness, the feeling of being tricked, and how she had unknowingly walked into this tangled web. But then, as she stood there, looking at Liam, she noticed something she hadn't before, a softness in his eyes, a vulnerability that contradicted the powerful businessman persona he had built. For the first time, she realized that this wasn't just about testing her. It was about him, too. It was about his own fear of being seen for who he truly was, his own doubt that anyone could look past his wealth and success to see him as a person, as Liam, and not just as a CEO. Emma blinked and shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on her. I never thought. I thought you were someone else. Liam's lips quirked into a half smile, the tension in the air easing slightly. I guess that's the point. You saw me as just a guy. That's something I haven't had in a long time. Emma felt a strange mix of emotion swirl inside her, anger, confusion, but also a strange sense of understanding. She hadn't expected any of this. But deep down, she couldn't deny that there was something about Liam. Something that made her want to believe his words, despite the strange circumstances. She took a step back, crossing her arms as she processed the situation. So, what now? She asked, her voice tentative. Liam exhaled, running a hand through his hair as he glanced around the diner. Now, I'd like to get to know you better. I know I've messed this up, but I'm willing to make it right. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I'd like to try. Emma studied him for a moment, his sincerity almost palpable in the air. She had never met a man like him, someone who was willing to admit his mistakes and offer a chance to make things right. It was rare, and it was refreshing. I don't know if I can just forgive you, she said slowly. But I'm willing to hear you out. I think you owe me an explanation. All of this, everything, it's a lot to take in. Liam nodded, his expression solemn. Fair enough. I can't promise that I'll make everything right, but I'll try. I'll be honest with you from now on. No more games. Emma let out a small, nervous laugh, shaking her head. I never thought I'd be here, talking to a CEO. And now, I'm hearing all this about you pretending to be someone else. It's a lot to digest. She paused for a moment, then added, but I guess it's a start. Liam smiled, a real, genuine smile this time. Thank you for giving me a chance. They stood there for a moment, the weight of the conversation still lingering between them, before Emma finally spoke again. So, what happens now? What do we do about this? Liam hesitated, then slowly reached into his pocket, pulling out a business card and sliding it across the counter toward her. Let's start with this, he said softly. If you're willing, I'd like to offer you something. I know it's not much, but I want to make it right. You don't have to decide anything right away, but when you're ready, let's talk. Really talk. Emma glanced at the card, then back at Liam. Her heart raced in her chest, uncertainty and curiosity battling for control. She had no idea what was going to happen next, but one thing was certain, her life had just taken an unexpected turn. And somehow, she had a feeling it wouldn't be the last surprise Liam Parker had in store for her. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam and his unexpected confession. She had expected a quick and awkward encounter, but instead, she found herself haunted by his words. He had been honest with her, something no one had ever done before, and it made her wonder if she was just overreacting. Was he really trying to make things right, or was this just another game? That thought weighed heavily on her as she continued her daily routine at the diner. Every time the door chimed and a new customer walked in, her heart skipped a beat, wondering if it would be him again. But it never was. Life at the diner was the same, long shifts, tired smiles, and the never-ending struggle to make ends meet. Despite the chaos, Emma found herself lost in her thoughts more often than not, drifting back to that moment when Liam had looked her in the eyes and offered her a chance at something more. The card he had given her sat in the pocket of her apron, a constant reminder of the conversation that had turned her world upside down. She kept telling herself that she would call him, that she would go to his office and hear him out, but something always held her back. She wasn't sure if she was ready to face the reality of it all. What if he had just been curious? What if he was only looking for something casual, something fleeting? What if this was all just another part of the game? As she wiped down the counter, her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice calling her name. Emma! She turned to see Jenny standing at the door, a wide grin on her face. What's up? Emma asked, trying to hide the unease she was feeling. Well, I think it's time for you to stop moping around and call Liam, Jenny said, walking up to her and leaning against the counter. He came looking for you, right? Don't you think you should give him a chance? Emma sighed, wiping the counter with more force than necessary. I don't know, Jenny. It's complicated. I mean, he's a CEO. He's got a whole world I don't understand. Jenny raised an eyebrow. And you think that's a reason to not give him a shot? Look, I know it's all new and strange, but don't let fear get in the way of something that could actually be good for you. You deserve more than just the same old routine. You deserve to see where this could go. Emma felt her stomach tighten at Jenny's words. She had always been the one to play it safe, to stick to what she knew, but for the first time, she felt the pull of something different. Something that could change everything. I don't know, Jenny, Emma said, her voice quiet. It just feels like too much, too soon. Jenny gave her a knowing look. You'll never know if you don't try. You can't spend your life second-guessing yourself. Just take the leap. What's the worst that could happen? Emma looked at her friend, taking a deep breath. What's the worst that could happen? She had spent her whole life waiting for something to change, for an opportunity to present itself. And now, it was right in front of her. Maybe it's time to take a chance, she thought. That evening, after her shift ended, Emma walked home with the card still in her pocket. It felt like it had been there forever, heavy with the weight of her indecision. When she got home, she sat down at the small kitchen table, staring at the card as though it held all the answers to her questions. Should I call him? The question lingered in her mind, growing louder with every passing minute. Finally, she pulled the card from her pocket and dialed the number. It rang twice before Liam's voice came through the phone. Hello, he answered, his voice calm but warm. Liam, it's Emma, she said, her heart racing. Emma. I was hoping you'd call, he replied, his voice tinged with relief. I know things have been complicated, but I really want to make things right. If you're still willing, we can meet up and talk about everything. Emma hesitated for a moment, the uncertainty still swirling inside her, but then she pushed it aside. I can't keep running from this, she thought. Okay, she said, her voice steady. Let's meet. But I need to know what this is. What do you want from me, Liam? There was a pause on the other end of the line, and Emma could almost hear him thinking. I want to get to know you, he said finally. I don't expect anything right away, but I want to see where this could go. I want to be honest with you from here on out. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her at his words. Honesty, something she had been craving, something she never thought she would find in a man like him. All right, she said, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. Let's see where this goes. I'll text you the details, Liam said. I'll be looking forward to it. After hanging up, Emma let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of excitement stir in her chest. Maybe this was the change she had been waiting for. Maybe it was time for her to stop playing it safe. She couldn't predict where things would go, but for once, she was willing to find out. The next day, Emma found herself staring at her phone, the message from Liam still fresh in her inbox. Dinner at 7 p.m. She read again, her heart skipping a beat. She had agreed to meet him, but now that the time was drawing closer, the nerves began to settle in. She wasn't sure what she expected from this meeting, but something told her it was going to be different from anything she had ever experienced. She had always played it safe, but Liam was offering her something unknown, something uncertain, and that was both thrilling and terrifying. She had spent the whole day trying to distract herself with errands, but her thoughts kept drifting back to him. Was this just a chance encounter, or was it something more? As the clock ticked closer to 7, she found herself standing in front of her closet, unsure of what to wear. She didn't want to look too casual, but she didn't want to look like she was trying too hard either. After much deliberation, she settled on a simple black dress, elegant, yet understated. It was the kind of outfit that made her feel confident without drawing too much attention. She took a deep breath before stepping out of her apartment and hailing a cab. As the cab made its way through the streets of New York, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation. She was nervous, yes, but there was also a sense of excitement bubbling up inside her. It had been a long time since she had felt this way about someone, and the idea of getting to know Liam better made her heart race. She had to admit, she was curious. When she arrived at the restaurant, a chic but not overly fancy place in the heart of the city, she was greeted by the host, who led her to a private table at the back. There he was, waiting for her, dressed in a sharp suit that made him look even more sophisticated than she remembered. He looked up when she approached, his expression softening as their eyes met. "Emma," he said, standing up to greet her. "You look beautiful." She felt a blush creep up her neck at his words, but she managed to smile. "Thank you," she replied, feeling suddenly self-conscious. As they sat down, the weight of the moment hung between them. There was so much they hadn't said, so much left unspoken since their last encounter. Emma didn't know where to begin, so she decided to let Liam take the lead. He leaned forward, his eyes locking with hers. "I'm glad you decided to meet me," he said. "I know this is a lot to take in, and I didn't expect you to be so open about it, but I appreciate it." Emma nodded, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her wine glass. "I wasn't sure what to expect," she admitted, "but I'm here. And I want to understand what this is. What do you want from me, Liam? What's the deal here?" Liam sighed, his gaze softening as he looked at her. "I don't want anything from you," he said quietly. "I don't expect anything in return. I think you're different. And I want to get to know you. Really know you." Emma looked at him, searching his face for any sign of insincerity, but all she saw was honesty. It was refreshing. She had spent so long around people who were always hiding their true selves, always putting on a mask. But with Liam, there was none of that. He was open. Vulnerable. "I don't know if I'm ready for something like this," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I'm ready to trust you." Liam nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I get that. I know I haven't exactly earned your trust, but I'll do whatever it takes. I just want a chance. A real chance." They sat there for a moment, the quiet between them comfortable yet charged with the tension of unspoken words. Finally, Emma broke the silence. "You know, when you first told me who you were, I thought it was just a joke," she said, letting out a nervous laugh. "I mean, who would think they'd end up meeting a CEO, especially under those circumstances?" Liam smiled, a small chuckle escaping his lips. "I guess I'm full of surprises." Emma couldn't help but laugh, the tension easing just a little. "I guess so," she replied. "But that doesn't make it any less overwhelming." "I understand," Liam said, his tone sincere. "I never wanted to overwhelm you. I just didn't know how else to approach this. But I promise, I'm not here to rush you. We can take things slow, see where it goes." Emma nodded, her heart softening at his words. Maybe this wasn't as scary as she had thought. Maybe, just maybe, it could be the beginning of something real. The night continued, with the two of them talking about everything from their childhoods to their dreams for the future. Emma found herself relaxing more and more with every word Liam spoke. It felt easy, natural, something she hadn't expected from a man like him. By the time dessert arrived, Emma felt like she had known Liam for much longer than a few hours. He wasn't just the CEO she had mistakenly sat next to at a restaurant, he was a man who had been kind to her, who had shown her a side of him that most people never saw. When the check came, Liam paid without a word, but before they left, he turned to her, his expression serious. "I want you to know something, Emma," he said. "I don't want this to just be about my world, my life. I want you to be part of it, but I need you to be honest with me. I need you to trust me, even if it's just a little." Emma met his gaze, her heart pounding in her chest. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she felt something in that moment. A spark. A possibility. She took a deep breath and nodded. "I'll try," she said softly. "I can't promise anything, but I'll try." Liam's face lit up with a smile, and for the first time, Emma felt like she had made the right decision. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something worth fighting for. Over the next few weeks, Emma found herself seeing Liam more often than she expected. What started as casual dinners quickly turned into long evenings filled with laughter, stories, and quiet moments that felt like they belonged to another world. He would pick her up after her shift at the diner, never minding the smell of coffee and fried food that clung to her uniform. Sometimes they would grab takeout and eat in the park, other times he would drive her through the city just to talk. It was simple, and yet it felt extraordinary. For the first time in years, Emma felt like someone was truly seeing her, not for what she did or where she came from, but for who she was. Liam never treated her like she was beneath him. If anything, he seemed fascinated by her world, the simplicity of it, the honesty. He often asked about her art, about her dream of opening a small studio one day. One evening, while they sat on a park bench watching the city lights flicker across the river, he turned to her and said, "You know, I think you underestimate yourself." Emma glanced at him, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" He smiled softly, his eyes reflecting the dim light. "You have this fire inside you, Emma. I see it every time you talk about your art. You make people believe in things again. You made me believe again." His words made her heart tighten. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. She had spent so long trying to survive that she had forgotten what it felt like to dream. "I don't know," she said quietly. "It's hard to believe in anything when life keeps proving you wrong." Liam reached over and took her hand, his touch gentle. "Then let me prove you wrong in a different way." His words lingered in the air, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. The connection between them was undeniable now. What had started as curiosity had turned into something deeper, something real. But just as things began to feel perfect, life had a way of reminding Emma that nothing came without complications. One evening, as she walked into the diner for her shift, she found a group of her co-workers huddled around a phone. They were whispering and laughing, their eyes widening as they noticed her approach. "Emma," one of them said, trying to hide a grin. "So, when were you going to tell us you were dating Liam Parker?" Her stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice tight. The girl held up her phone, showing a picture from a gossip site. There she was, Emma, sitting in Liam's car, smiling, with his hand resting gently on hers. The caption read, "Liam Parker spotted with mystery woman, who is she?" Emma's face burned as she grabbed the phone, scanning the article. It was all there, the details, the speculation, the comments. People were calling her a gold digger, saying she was just another girl trying to climb the social ladder. "It's not what it looks like," she muttered, but her co-workers were already exchanging knowing looks. "Sure, Emma," one of them said. "We get it. Not everyone gets to date a billionaire." The laughter that followed stung worse than she expected. She turned and walked out of the diner, her mind spinning. The city lights blurred as tears filled her eyes. "This is why I don't belong in his world," she thought. "I'm just another headline, another story for people to laugh at." That night, she ignored Liam's calls. She couldn't face him, not after seeing what people were saying. She didn't want to be his scandal, his mistake. The next morning, however, he showed up at her apartment. She opened the door, her eyes puffy from crying. He didn't say anything at first. Just looked at her with concern. "Emma," he said softly. "You weren't answering my calls." "I saw it, Liam," she said, her voice trembling. "Everyone saw it. They're saying things about me, about us. I can't do this. I'm not built for your world." He stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "Emma, I don't care what they say. Let them talk. I'm not going to let some article ruin what we have." "But they're right," she whispered. "You're a CEO, Liam. And I'm just a waitress. We don't belong together." He shook his head, his eyes filled with determination. "You're wrong. You belong wherever you choose to be." And I want you by my side. I won't let anyone make you feel small again. Emma's throat tightened, her heart torn between fear and hope. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that love could be stronger than the world's judgment. But deep down, a small voice whispered that this was just the beginning of the storm. She didn't know how, but something told her that this was only the start of a battle she wasn't sure she could win. The following days were a whirlwind for Emma. She had tried to push the memories of the diner and the gossip site out of her mind, but they clung to her like a shadow. The whispers, the looks, the judgment, it was all too much. Despite Liam's reassuring words, she still felt like she didn't belong in his world. Every time she saw him, she could feel the weight of the stares from the people around them, as if they were waiting for her to make a mistake, just so they could say, "I told you so." Liam, on the other hand, seemed unaffected by the noise. He was determined to make things work, to prove to her that she had nothing to fear. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was an outsider in his life, someone who didn't fit in with his world of wealth and privilege. She spent long hours thinking about what he had said, the words he spoke when he told her to let the world talk, that he didn't care about the headlines, only about her. But what if the world was right? She wondered. What if I'm just another girl trying to climb the social ladder? She tried to convince herself that. The relationship with Liam wasn't about money or status, but the nagging doubt was always there, just beneath the surface. One evening, Liam invited her to one of his company's charity events. It was supposed to be a casual gathering to raise funds for a cause he was passionate about, but for Emma, it felt like a test. She couldn't help but wonder how she would be perceived in a room full of billionaires, investors, and CEOs. As she stood in front of her mirror that evening, preparing herself for the event, she couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. She ran a hand through her hair, her thoughts racing. What if she said or did something that made Liam look bad? What if they all judged her? She couldn't bear the thought of embarrassing him, or worse, ruining everything they had built together. She tried to calm her nerves, reminding herself that Liam had asked her to come because he wanted her there. But the anxiety wouldn't leave. The night was cool, and as she stepped into the black car Liam had sent for her, the city lights seemed to blur past her, her mind focused on nothing but the event ahead. When she arrived at the venue, a lavish ballroom lit with sparkling chandeliers, she felt like a deer caught in the headlights. The crowd was dressed in designer gowns and sharp tuxedos, their laughter and conversation echoing throughout the room. She felt small, like she didn't belong. But when Liam greeted her at the entrance, his smile was like a beacon in the sea of people. "You made it," he said, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. He reached for her hand, leading her into the room. "I knew you'd look beautiful." Emma smiled weakly, trying to push her unease aside. "I don't belong here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Of course you do," Liam said softly, his hand squeezing hers reassuringly. "You're with me." They moved through the crowd together, but Emma couldn't help but feel out of place. She noticed the way people glanced at her, their eyes scanning her outfit, her demeanor. She wasn't one of them. The evening passed slowly, each moment feeling like an eternity. Emma couldn't relax, couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was watching her. She tried to engage in small talk with some of the guests, but the conversation always felt forced, as if they were humoring her. Meanwhile, Liam moved through the room with ease, effortlessly charming everyone he spoke to. Emma tried to keep her insecurities in check, but it was difficult. As the night wore on, she found herself standing alone on the balcony, gazing out at the city skyline. The cool breeze did little to ease the discomfort that had settled in her chest. She had never felt more alone in a room full of people. "Hey," a voice said softly behind her. She turned to find Liam standing there, his expression concerned. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. "I don't belong here," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I feel like everyone is judging me. I don't fit in with this world." Liam stepped closer to her, his hand resting on her shoulder. "You don't have to fit in with anyone, Emma," he said, his voice firm. "You're not here to impress anyone. You're here because I wanted you here. Because I want you with me, no matter what." You're not just some trophy or accessory. You're someone I care about. You're enough, just the way you are. Emma looked up at him, her eyes brimming with tears. She hadn't expected him to say that. She had expected him to reassure her, to tell her that it didn't matter what people thought. But what he had said was so much more. It was a declaration. A promise. And for the first time that evening, she felt like she could breathe. I don't know if I'm ready for this, she whispered, her voice shaky. I don't know if I can handle this world. I don't know if I can keep pretending to be someone I'm not. Liam's expression softened, his hand cupping her cheek. You don't have to pretend, Emma. You don't have to be anyone other than who you are. I want you to be real with me. Always. The sincerity in his eyes made Emma's heart ache. She felt a weight lift from her chest, the burden of self-doubt slowly starting to fade. Maybe she could do this. Maybe she didn't have to be afraid. But just as she started to let her guard down, the sound of a voice calling out her name cut through the moment. It was one of the guests from earlier, and she was walking toward them with a knowing smile on her face. Emma's heart dropped into her stomach. She had been trying to escape the judgment, but it seemed that it was following her, no matter how hard she tried to run. She looked up at Liam, her eyes pleading for him to do something, to make it stop. He turned to her, his face hardening slightly, before he stepped forward to greet the woman with a forced smile. The woman approaching them had a confident, almost too perfect smile. Her eyes gleamed with an expression that was a mixture of curiosity and amusement. Emma could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her, the air thick with tension. She couldn't help but feel like she was being judged even before the conversation had begun. Liam turned to face the woman, his posture stiffening slightly, but he kept his expression neutral. "Susan," he said, his voice polite but with an edge of firmness. "It's good to see you." Emma watched as the woman's gaze flicked between her and Liam, a smirk curling on her lips. "I didn't expect to see you here, Emma," Susan said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "I heard you were, dating Liam. I must say, this is quite the surprise." Emma's stomach churned, her hands instinctively clenching at her sides. She wanted to say something, anything, to defend herself, but she felt paralyzed under the weight of Susan's gaze. This woman didn't even know her, and yet she already had an opinion. Liam stepped closer to Emma, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. His touch was steady, grounding her in the moment. "Susan, this is not the time or place for your commentary," Liam said, his voice calm but unwavering. "I've asked you to respect my personal life, and I expect you to do so now." Susan raised an eyebrow, clearly taken aback by his words. "Oh, Liam, come on," she said with a soft chuckle. "I'm just saying, it's quite a leap from your usual circle, don't you think?" She glanced at Emma with an expression that was anything but friendly. "I'm sure you're a lovely girl, Emma, but do you really think this is where you belong?" Emma's face flushed as she fought to keep her composure. Her mind screamed at her to defend herself, to tell Susan off. But she couldn't bring herself to do it. She wasn't used to this world, the sharp tongues, the biting comments, and it felt like everything she had feared was coming true. She was out of her depth. But before she could say anything, Liam stepped in once more. "Enough, Susan," he said, his voice growing firmer. "I've never asked you to understand my choices, and I don't need your approval. Emma is here with me because I want her here, and that's all that matters. If you can't respect that, then perhaps it's best we end this conversation now." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken tension. Susan looked at Liam for a long moment, as if considering whether to push further, but something in his demeanor must have told her it wasn't worth it. She gave a short, tight smile. "Fine," she said coldly. "But don't say I didn't warn you, Liam. Enjoy your night." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Emma and Liam standing together, the weight of her words lingering in the air. Emma let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, her heart still pounding in her chest. "I'm sorry," she whispered, looking up at Liam. "I didn't expect that." Liam looked down at her, his expression softening as he gently squeezed her shoulder. You don't have to apologize, he said. Susan is just. Susan. Don't let her get to you. Emma nodded, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. She had been thrust into this world so suddenly, and every moment felt like she was just one mistake away from being rejected. But Liam, despite his position, had always been there for her, and for that, she couldn't bring herself to walk away just yet. The evening wore on, and while Emma tried her best to enjoy herself, the earlier encounter with Susan kept playing on her mind. It wasn't just about the words that had been said, but the way Susan had looked at her, like she was beneath her, like she didn't belong. It stung more than she cared to admit. But as the night went on, Liam kept a close eye on her, offering support in the form of quiet words and reassuring touches. By the end of the event, Emma had managed to push the negativity aside, but she knew deep down that this wasn't over. There would be more challenges ahead, more people who didn't understand her place in Liam's life. But one thing had become clear to her: she couldn't keep hiding. She had to decide whether she was willing to face this world, his world, or if it was too much for her. As they left the venue together, Liam's hand brushed hers, a silent gesture of solidarity. You did great tonight, he said, his voice soft and sincere. I know it's not easy, but I'm proud of you. Emma glanced up at him, feeling the sincerity in his words. Thank you, she said, her voice steady. I don't know if I'm ready for all this. Liam stopped walking, turning to face her. You don't have to be ready for everything right now, he said, his tone gentle but firm. We'll take this one step at a time, together. And when you're ready, you'll find your place in all of this. But just know that I'm not going anywhere. And neither should you. The weight of his words settled in Emma's chest, the uncertainty fading just a little bit more. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Maybe she wasn't alone in this after all. The next few weeks felt like a rollercoaster ride for Emma. After the charity event and the confrontation with Susan, she had been unsure about her place in Liam's world, but with each passing day, she found herself growing more comfortable with him and his life. The tension that had once gripped her heart when they were together started to ease. Liam had kept his word. He was patient, kind, and understanding, never pushing her to be anyone she wasn't. The more they spent time together, the more Emma realized that he didn't just see her as another woman in his life. He genuinely cared about her, and she began to care about him too, in a way she hadn't expected. However, even as she let herself open up to him, doubt still lingered. There were moments when she would catch herself wondering if she truly belonged with him. The insecurities that had followed her throughout her life still crept in, reminding her of how different they were. She was a small-town girl with big dreams, and he was a billionaire CEO with a life that was so far removed from hers. It felt impossible to bridge that gap, no matter how hard they tried. One evening, as they sat in a small cafe, Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. His fingers were warm and comforting, a stark contrast to the nervous energy that ran through Emma's veins. Emma, I know things haven't been easy, he said, his voice steady but filled with sincerity. But I need you to know something. I want you in my life. And I don't care what people think, what the world says. I'm not asking you to change who you are. I'm just asking you to be with me. Emma looked at him, her heart fluttering in her chest. She had heard him say things like this before, but this time, there was something different in his eyes. It wasn't just a promise, it was a commitment. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like maybe, just maybe, she could let herself believe it. I'm scared, Liam, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Scared of not being enough. Scared of losing myself in all of this. He squeezed her hand gently, his thumb brushing against her skin. I get it, he said softly. But I'm not asking you to lose yourself. I'm asking you to grow with me. To take this journey together. We don't have to have all the answers right now. All I need from you is to trust me. Emma nodded slowly, feeling the weight of his words settle in her heart. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't sure about the future, but she knew she didn't want to let fear hold her back. Maybe this was the beginning of something real. Something worth fighting for. Over the next few months, Emma found herself falling deeper for Liam, not because of his wealth or status, but because of the man he was, kind, thoughtful, and willing to fight for what he believed in. And as they spent more time together, Emma realized that maybe she had been afraid of the wrong thing all along. It wasn't the world around her that she should fear, it was her own doubts. She had to learn to trust herself, to believe that she was worthy of love, no matter where it came from. One afternoon, as they walked through the city hand in hand, Liam turned to her with a grin. That made her heart skip a beat. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice teasing. "Maybe it's time to take the next step." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Next step? What are you talking about?" He stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression serious now. "Emma, I want you to move in with me." She blinked, caught off guard. "Move in? With you?" He nodded. "Yes. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to build a life with you, a real life, not just some fleeting moment. I'm ready for this. Are you?" Emma's heart raced as she looked at him, the weight of his words sinking in. She had always been independent, always valued her space, but with Liam, it felt different. She didn't want to be afraid of taking the next step. She wanted to be with him. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady, the decision coming easily now. "Let's do it." Liam's smile widened, and he pulled her into a warm embrace. "You have no idea how happy that makes me," he whispered in her ear. Over the next few days, they began the process of moving Emma's things into his apartment, setting up a space that felt like home for both of them. It wasn't perfect, there were bumps along the way, moments of uncertainty, but it was theirs. And as they settled into their new life together, Emma couldn't help but smile. She was no longer afraid. She had found something worth holding on to, something worth fighting for. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she belonged, not just in Liam's world, but in her own. They had both learned that love wasn't about fitting into each other's lives, it was about creating a life together, no matter the differences, no matter the challenges. Emma wasn't just the waitress who had stumbled into Liam's life. She was someone who had found her place, someone who had learned to trust and believe in herself. And with Liam by her side, she knew that this was only the beginning. Discover an inspiring journey of love, trust, and self-discovery in this captivating tale that showcases how two people from completely different worlds find their way to each other. This millionaire story follows Emma, a waitress with big dreams, who unexpectedly finds herself entangled with Liam, a successful CEO. As the story unfolds, Emma learns to navigate the complexities of dating a billionaire while dealing with insecurities and the pressure of societal judgment. Liam, determined to prove that love is more than just status and wealth, breaks down Emma's walls, showing her what true love and respect look like. In these millionaire stories, the characters face real struggles, but through their shared vulnerability, they discover that the most important thing is not wealth, but connection. With every twist and turn, this story explores the power of taking chances, overcoming doubts, and trusting someone enough to build a future together. Emma's journey proves that sometimes, the most unlikely people can change your life in the most unexpected ways. As you dive deeper into this millionaire story, you'll experience a rollercoaster of emotions, from awkward encounters to heartfelt confessions, as Emma and Liam work to find their place in each other's lives. If you've ever felt like an outsider, or wondered if love could bridge the gap between two very different worlds, this story will leave you believing in the power of trust and love. Follow Emma's path as she discovers the strength to take risks and embrace the future, no matter how uncertain it may seem. This is just one of many amazing millionaire stories that remind us all that love, no matter the status, is the greatest adventure of all. 1. The male lead, a handsome, masculine American man with a sharp jawline, stands in an elegant, opulent ballroom, holding the female lead's chin gently in his hand. His eyes are intense, filled with emotion as he gazes at her, trying to convey his feelings without words. She stands there, her expression a mix of confusion and vulnerability, her eyes slightly teary, as though she is caught in a moment of uncertainty. The background is soft and blurred, with warm golden lights, enhancing the emotional gravity of this scene. The shot is close-up, capturing the rawness of the moment. The characters' faces illuminated in soft lighting, highlighting their emotions in this intimate confrontation. 1, 2, 2. The female lead, an elegant, soft-featured American woman with long flowing hair, is seen working in a modest diner. She is dressed in a simple waitress uniform, looking focused but tired as she serves food to customers. The background is a typical diner setting, with colorful booths and the hum of conversation in the air. Her posture is slightly hunched as she moves quickly between tables, trying to keep up with the busy night shift. Her expression is determined, but there's a hint of exhaustion as she briefly pauses to wipe her brow, showing the everyday struggle of her life. The scene is shot in a warm, realistic setting, capturing her hardworking nature. 2-3. The male lead, dressed in a sharp suit, is sitting in his modern, sleek office. The scene is cinematic, with him at his desk, sorting through paperwork and business files. His expression is serious and composed, his focused gaze indicating the weight of his responsibilities. The office around him is impeccably neat, with dark wood furnishings and city lights visible through the windows in the background. His strong features are illuminated by the soft glow of the desk lamp, reflecting his high-powered, professional lifestyle. The camera captures him in profile, emphasizing his confidence and authority. 1-4. The female and male lead stand together in a lavish party venue, surrounded by other guests in elegant attire. They lock eyes for a brief moment, the spark of attraction between them undeniable. She is dressed in a sophisticated yet simple evening gown, while he wears a tuxedo that fits him perfectly. The background is a blur of luxurious decorations and gold accents, but the focus is on them. She looks slightly out of place, her nervousness evident in her posture as she holds her drink in one hand. His body language is confident, yet there's a hint of curiosity in his gaze as he watches her. The camera is positioned to capture the chemistry growing between them, the lighting soft and warm. 1-2-5. The female and male leads are in an emotionally charged argument. They are in a dimly lit room, with shadows casting over their faces. The female lead's face is flushed, her eyes filled with frustration and hurt, while the male lead stands firm, his jaw clenched as he listens to her. His posture is defensive, yet there's an underlying vulnerability in his eyes. The tension in the air is palpable, with their conflicting emotions highlighted in the close-up shot. The camera focuses on their faces, capturing every nuance of their disagreement, as their voices are raised, but there's still an unspoken connection between them. 1-2-6. The female and male leads are sitting together on a park bench, their shoulders touching as they enjoy a quiet moment. The background shows a peaceful, lush park, bathed in the soft glow of a setting sun. She is leaning in slightly toward him, her expression more relaxed and at ease. He looks down at her, his face softening with affection as he listens to her speak. The shot is intimate, with the camera focusing on their hands gently touching. The scene is serene and heartfelt, capturing the tenderness growing between them as they share their hopes and dreams for the future. 1-2-7. The female and male leads are in a luxurious but intimate setting, facing a significant moment of decision. They are standing close to each other, their faces inches apart, their emotions running high. The male lead, with determination in his eyes, reaches for her hand, trying to convey how much he wants to move forward with their relationship. She hesitates, her eyes filled with doubt, torn between her fears and the connection they share. The scene is intense, the camera framing them in a tight shot, focusing on their faces as they grapple with the choice ahead. The lighting is dramatic, reflecting the weight of the decision. 1-2-8. The female and male leads are seen walking hand in hand through a beautiful garden or park. The scene is warm, filled with natural sunlight as the couple smiles at each other, content and in love. The female lead looks at him with a gentle smile, her eyes sparkling with happiness and trust. The male lead, his strong features softened by his genuine smile, looks down at her with adoration. The background is filled with vibrant flowers and greenery, symbolizing the growth of their relationship. The camera captures this intimate moment from a distance, showing them as a united couple, ready to face the future together. 1-2.